Well, hi everyone. Um, Please don't stand up for me, and please don't call me sir. I have repeated these two things a lot. I really appreciate the great welcome here, but it's my privilege and it's our privilege to be here, and not the other way around. And it's always, it's an interesting thing because I get to talk to a lot of policymakers and people, folks in Delhi that are uh, presumably very important, and they kind of are. But I am more nervous to talk in front of young people than old people. So excuse that, or stick with me. I'm not sure. Are we with the presentation already? Okay, cool. So when I was told today, or asked to sort of participate here, I wanted to understand first what kind of the desired outcome of a lecture would be, and like how the event says, it's about the itch, right? Finding your itch. So I hope that I can help you a little bit with that, and I'm gonna try to keep my presentation short so that there's some time for Q&A after, because at the end of the day, I don't want to, just assume what questions you might have, but actually hear them from you all. So, yeah, but I mean, obviously, like I'm in India. I live in Bangalore now for 2 years, or since 2 years. So I have clearly had some kind of itch that put me in a position where I am today. And usually the question is when people ask me, and I think that's sort of like lining back to the itch, was like, what are you doing in India, man? like how did you end up here? And then on top of that, why are you building air taxis? And like I can talk about why we're building air taxis and all of that, but I thought, instead of just giving sort of a breakdown of my biography, which everyone can read up on LinkedIn if you want, or like sort of the news articles. I'm sure that you find out, where I worked before and all of that. I wanted to take it to the core of like what I believe what brought me here. Okay. And then you'll maybe understand that it's not that special for me to end up in India and building air taxis. So yeah, what brought this German dude to India to build air taxis? And I basically, like, when I thought about this yesterday, I kind of broke it down, and I think that it's really about finding the obvious. So I want everyone today, after like this talk, to think about the obvious, okay? Because like sometimes we think that it's not so obvious, okay? But there are some things in life that are just obvious. So I'm sure that everyone can think about a couple of obvious things, like your choice of with the clothes that you put on in the mornings are like dependent on the weather. That's an obvious choice for you, right? You don't think about that much. There are obvious things that like have emerged sort of historically, and so I think that if we try to find our itch, then we have to try to understand what is obvious in the two different realities of this world that exist today, or like that always have existed. And there are basically two worlds that we live in, right? Like the one world is the reality that we all share here today, which is that all of us are sitting in this room right now. And then there's another reality, which is my own reality, which is the fact that I'm standing on the stage right now. Someone of you might be sitting in the audience right now and like look at this from a different perspective. You are experiencing yourself in a different reality, but we all share this reality of being in the same room right now. And so if you look for obvious, you have to sort of understand these two realities and search for obvious choices in these two realities to find your itch. So this is the graphic that made me, that is my obvious. That has become the most profound choice of my life. Anyone an idea what this graphic shows? Anyone? Okay. I think this should be more present in our lives, especially being Indians, because this is actually, I'm not sure if you're seeing the whole slide, because no. It's actually not the whole graphics technical team. Oh, here. Okay, I'll just do it like that. That was. Okay, anyone know what this graphic is now? Any ideas? No, okay, fine. So this slide shows the if we talk about two realities, I first want to talk about the reality that we all share, like the world in which we all live. And this slide actually shows the world economy over the course of the last 2,000 years. So this is the GDP of our planet over the course of the last 2,000 years. Okay, so like if you had to choose one of the colors on this graphic to pick your itch to like find where you want to build the future, which color would you go for? Anyone? First one, last one, like couple of ideas. Okay, so the point here is the red bar here represents the economy of China, and the yellow bar represents the economy of India. Okay, and then obviously the dip here that you see on the right side of this screen is the colonial time, when the Britishers came and basically robbed the country, right? So, but what we are clearly seeing is that the two largest economies historically over the course of the last 2,000 years have been also the nations that were the densest populated. That's a very intuitive thought, like that doesn't need much explanation, right? So if I want to find my itch and I look at this macro trends, at like these larger scale trends, when I saw this graph in high school, I knew where I wanted to build. Like it's that simple, because there's no way that this yellow curve is going to go down from here. Like it's just going to go up again until it eventually recovers. And the graph in like 200 years from now is going to look more like the left side of this graph than the current right side of this graph. So there are, like, if you look for obvious things, I want to inspire you to look in history for obvious things. You look back today and you'd say, oh, India was the largest economy in the world. And it's so obvious for us to look at that today, because we're like, yeah, of course, most people, before India got colonialized by the Britishers, like, of course it was the largest economy. And then other things are like the internet. Once the first device, like sort of not through a cable connected device had access to the internet, it was clear where this is going. Like, for us today, looking back, it's totally obvious that we're all using our smartphones on a daily basis, because we're like, in the rear view mirror, it all makes sense. It's not so difficult to understand, right? Or that when book prints were invented, that would transform knowledge. So you can do the same thing, and that's probably a little bit more relevant for you when you look forward. So if you like try to find your itch and you see that picture, like any ideas what that picture is? Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's the latest wildfires in Los Angeles, and looks pretty devastating, right? So there's some things that are totally obvious for us today in today's world that will be as crystal clear for people that look back on us 100 years from now than it is for us to look at like the internet as an example that we just looked at, or the size of economies. So if you look at the future, like try to understand where we are right now, and try to understand what is going to be an obvious thing in the future. Like climate tech is not going anywhere. Like the climate crisis is here to stay for the next couple of decades. So that if you have something that motivates you in that space, like that's a great space to build, right? Or that's a great space to work in if you want to be in an employment that can all be there. There are other things, like in our case, I would argue traffic. Like we're all like, I flew in from Mumbai this morning, okay? And I was just talking about this, but my flight from Mumbai was shorter. You know where this goes exactly. Than my travel from the airport to here. and like significantly shorter. So there are obvious things, like if that's the case, right? If we're all being stuck in traffic all the time, like there obviously we need to have a solution to this. This is not some like rocket science. Like I'm not thinking something that no one else is thinking. Like we're all being stuck in traffic. If we leave this tonight, we're all going to be stuck in traffic on our way home, right? So these are obvious things, and I want you to like find them in the world. So these are like sort of like the reality that we share on this world, right? But then there are also obvious choices that I think that are really important when you want to find your itch, that are more sort of on a personal level. And you know, I just turned 30, so maybe there's also like sort of like the older me coming out in this now and in this next slide. I guess when I was your age, I would have not agreed with that, so we'll see how that goes. But there are also some things that are like obvious when it comes to your own personal choices. Like if you think about yourself and a fulfilling life and finding your itch, like your itch is ultimately about being happy in life, or you know, when you're old, you want to look back and you want to be like, I did what I was passionate about, and I found happiness in my life. And like finding happiness in your life is only possible if you do what really excites you. If you don't wake up on a Monday morning and you're like, damn it, it's Monday again, like I wish it was Sunday, or I wish it was Saturday, or even Friday, right? Like that's not gonna make you happy over the long term. And you only stay motivated if you build something or if you do something that matters to you, right? So for me, that's traffic. Like for me, it matters how much time people waste in traffic. Like I have a friend in Mumbai, his parents recently moved houses. They got a little bit older now, and his parents moved houses not because they didn't want to live in the house that they were, but because in case something that would happen, you know, the next hospital is 5 kilometers away, but 5 kilometers can be an hour or even longer than that. So they decided to move houses just so that they could be closer to the hospital, right? And that's something that matters to me. Like I think that's meaningful work. Some of you in this room might have other things that are meaningful to you, but you have to do that if you want to find your itch. The other thing I would point out is health. You know, it's really underestimated how important it is if you want to find your meaning in life, if you don't pay attention to your health. And it all starts, in my opinion, with you know, eating enough, working out, like sleeping enough, working out, and eating healthy. Like if you do these things right, you will have a lot more clarity of mind to find what you are looking for. So it's also behavioral sort of change that I'm asking you to do if you want to find your itch. So my argument of today would be is do the obvious, because I truly believe that inside of each one of you, there is already the knowledge for what is obvious to you. Someone in this room might say, I want to open a farmhouse cafe, right? That's not just right, but that's actually, that can be your itch. And like, just because some corporate wants you to believe that, you know, having a great marketing job at like being the head of marketing at Nike is sort of like you have made it in life. I want to argue, if that itch for you is that farmhouse cafe, and you know that already, you'll feel it inside of you, then go for it. Like literally nothing is holding you back from doing that. So find that, and I think that it exists inside of you. And just on like before we go into Q&A, I think there is a list of obvious things that you can just type down in your phone right now of like stuff that you know you should do, and then just execute on them. You know, one of the biggest changes for me was deleting my social media. I don't have any social media apps on my phone. Doesn't mean that I don't have accounts, but I don't have it on my phone. So that leaves me a lot more time to feel bored, which I really enjoy. I just like my thoughts are wandering. I sleep 8 hours every day. You know, I quit my job, even though it was a promising career. Like there are a bunch of things that you know you can do today. So I'll leave it with that, and like I'm happy to take questions. I know I didn't talk about flying taxis, but But I know that there's a bunch of content online around that as well. But happy to take some questions if we have time for that. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, I know. I already saw you have a question. Let's give him a good round of applause. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And is that a prepared question or you just came out with a question? Came up with a question. Come, please come. Do you have a question? Don't ask any personal question. How can I tell my crush that I have a crush on them? So, yeah. Okay, yeah, first question.
There's another question there.
My question is, how are you going to pick up and drop the people through the faculties?
Okay, yeah, that's an operations-based question. Thank you. So bringing us back to the ground of reality here. We are planning to connect organized places with each other. So like your schools, malls, hospitals, airports, all of these places that most of them already have vertiport or helipad infrastructure, so you can utilize them to travel from one place to another. Yeah, so I think the easiest way, I was just saying that, to think about it is like a bus system in the air in the initial stages. But long term, I don't know which floor are we on here. Which floor is this? Second floor. Okay, so second floor, I'm not sure, but let's assume this was fifth floor. Like in the forward-looking future that I see, you don't land on top of the building, but you land more sort of on the vertical side of the building. Like, you replace a window with a docking station, and then you have like a drone basically landing. Yeah, exactly the floor that you want to be on.
That's it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have another question.
So since you spoke about future,
Yeah.
right, what will be the role of AI?
I mean, do you have the answer for that yourself?
No, because everything is AI, right? So since you're talking about ad taxi, so how will AI be applied there? What will be the use of AI? Because all companies are going for AI, right?
Yeah.
Even students are doing their assignments using AI, projects using AI, everything
Yeah.
is into AI.
I mean, AI is like one of the things that is obvious, like it will obviously penetrate every part of the business. So like when it comes to us, it's from research and development where we use AI for building the product, all the way to like using AI to have better air traffic control systems, to automate the flight better. Like, yeah, it's going to be everywhere.
Yeah, just a connected question. So India is populated,
Yes.
right? You can use this automated traffic systems in US or UK because the population is less. But in India, will it be applicable?
So the whole point, like why we're, again, coming back to, I think it's an obvious choice to build this in India. If you look at the United States today, if you look at Great Britain, if you look at Europe, you basically in all of these nations or geographies, you have functioning mobility systems. Like I grew up in Munich. If I want to travel from one place to another in Munich, I can choose between like 10 different modes of transportation. I can take the subway, I can take the tram, the bus, the taxi, like you name it, it's all there, it all works, right? So if you had to build a mass mobility system today for India from scratch, keeping in mind that it has to be capital efficient in the build-up, then air taxis are really the best way, because you virtually don't have to build any infrastructure. What do you think, like how much does 1 kilometer of metro line in Bangalore cost to develop?
I have my own bike, so I don't know about metro. But
But like just throw a random number. Like what do you think that the government pays for 1 kilometer of metro?
maybe 100 crores?
Yeah,
150 crores?
Not bad. Yeah, 150 crores is actually pretty accurate. So for 150 crores, they built 1 kilometer of a relatively dumb mobility system that connects like a line. Now, if you like walk in a room, like a line is not like the smartest way of getting to places. So for 150 core, I will scale air taxis across the whole city. Forget the city, like I'll make this the whole state. I'll like roll this out across all of Karnataka. So like it is so much easier to build air taxis for mass mobility in India than anywhere else in the world because we don't have a functioning mobility system.
Yeah, we'll buy it. We are price conscious Indians.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have another question there. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll come to you next.
So I've seen a lot of buzz regarding your innovation in the news everywhere. And how are you planning to strategize yourself to market and brand your brand as someone with a lot of competitors?
Yeah, great question. I don't know. How should we do it? You tell me. You're the expert. No, I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know because so far I can tell you like all of the stuff that we did was organic. We didn't pay for advertisement at all so far. We don't have a marketing team. Like, we're just, I think it's like, again, you know, coming, I'm gonna, you're gonna be annoyed with that obvious thing by the end of this, but like, it's such an obviously good choice and such a like thing that newspapers obviously would want to talk about because you basically tell people that we can solve for one of the biggest issues for all of us. Like one thing that I want people to be very clear about is when you're stuck in traffic because we, the people of India, have taken that choice to be stuck in traffic. It doesn't have to be that way. This is a problem that we decide to have. So like when you tell the public in general that it doesn't have to be that way, then I think that's a really powerful message where people for the first time think about like, oh, we don't actually have to be, like this is not the status quo. Cars were invented 130 years ago. Like, some of you might have seen that, but the other day I was posting on LinkedIn about this. Like, I think it's crazier to think that cars are the final stage of human mobility than it is crazy to think that air taxis will be the next big thing.
So like, do you think organic marketing is more efficient and beneficial compared to inorganic?
I don't know that because we haven't tried it. So I'll get back in a year with more on that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
So again, on the obvious thing again.
Cool.
So you kept talking about how, you know, things are very obvious and we don't realize them, right? And finding and doing what is obvious to us is solving our itch. So how do we decide what's obvious for us?
It's obvious. I don't know how to answer that question, to be honest. But like, if you look at the world like today, and then imagine yourself like probably our lifespan, like the lifespan of all of you in here will be longer than the lifespan of like our parents and so forth. And I would like kindly count myself to your generation. But say that we turn, you know, like say 100 years old or like 90 years or something, and then like you look back on like envision that, like do that thought experiment when you're 100 years old, and then look back on like how the world emerged and like what stuff had happened. Like you'll find a couple of sort of high-level trends that will be there, and then like you pick whatever you're most excited about. You know, this could be anything. Like this can even be like, say that you were super excited about like women's rights or something, or LGBTQI rights. Like these are things where we know that even there might be setbacks along the way. Like when like that train has left the station, like it's only going to get bigger now. And you know, in the United States, you see all of these setbacks happening and all of that, right? But like, it will, if you look at it from like a longer perspective, like 50 years, you will see that this is not going to go anywhere. Like in 100 years, the world will be a more equitable world that we live in. So like, if it doesn't even have to be something like climate tech, or you know, it could be more, I don't know, intangible things.
Makes sense. It does help.
Cool. You'll have to stop me, like, when we, yeah?
I think, yeah, that's the end of the questions.
Okay.
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Awesome, thank you, everyone.